Welcome to another Guardians of Wilt-Shire video. I'm your host Luke and we are doing a tournament review for the Final Fete of the Witch King. Unfortunately, me and Darry normally do these together, but I'm going to be very busy the next few days with work, and then Darry's actually going away for a week. So we haven't got time in the next probably 2.5 weeks to get together. So we're just going to do separate ones, but that way we can both get bit more detail into our games, give a bit of feedback for the scenarios at Mel's tournament, and also talk a little bit more about our armies individually. So as I said, it was the Final Fete of the Witch King, weekend just gone. It's now Thursday morning, so it was a few days ago. It was a 400-point tournament, a non-GBHL event, but Mel is looking to change that next year with hopefully an 80-point tournament, which would be great. InCom Gaming is a great venue. Definitely scope for at least 40 players. I mean, we had 18 weekend just gone. Remember we did the Merry Gathering in June that had 20, and there was plenty of space then. There's scope to go upstairs in the pub, there's room around the corners, things like that. So you're definitely scope for an 80-point tournament. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later if I need to. But this is going to be going on to the games now. You would probably have seen from the vlog that Mel talked about how the armies there were generally very fluffy. Some there were quite competitive, but they still kept within a certain theme, which was great. Because obviously it's not a GBHL event, there's nothing going towards a league or anything like that. I mean, there's a Southern League we've got going, but that's nothing official just yet. I mean, it's just sort of the first year of it, so we'll see how it progresses going into next year. So yeah, the armies there are all really fluffy. A lot of evil, to be fair. There were some good armies, mainly Gondor and High Elves. That was the sort of mainstay of focus of the good armies. And then for evil, there was a big spread. I mean, I took Moria, there was 2 other Moria armies. Barry obviously took his Mahud. There was Isengard, there was a couple of Angmar armies, things like that. So yeah, good spread of armies as well. In game 1, I was drawn against Sam Harper, who I believe is part of War Games Association of Reading, sorry. Apologise if that's wrong. I'm only guessing because quite good friends with David. So, putting 2 and 2 together there. So the first scenario was Taken Hold. So this was, so all the scenarios were custom, which was good. But Taken Hold was sort of like a hold ground variant. So basically you got points for having more models in the middle of the board than your opponent. There was a 12 VP cap for it, which was the same for all scenarios, which is sort of in line with what tournaments are doing nowadays, especially those with Warhammer World and GTs and things like that, which was good. So it was 5 VPs max for having models in the centre. I think that was if you had models and your opponent didn't. It was 3 for having twice as many, and then 1 point for having more. There was also points for wounding leader and killing, which was 1 and 2. And then breaking as well was 1, 3 and 5. So if you were both broken, you got 1 point. If neither of you were broken, you got 3. And if you were broken, your opponent wasn't, that was 5. So very interesting, 12 VP max, especially with the whole ground variant where you can't just have a Moria Horde getting 30 points straight away just for being in the middle, which is unfortunate for me. So yeah, me and Sam rolled off. He had to deploy a warband first, which he chose. So I'll go through his army actually quickly. He had Gullivar, a Barrow White, mixture of orcs with shear and spear and shield, and then I think there was a couple of Warg Riders in there as well. It's a fairly unique Angmar army in that there was no Shade, there was no Shaman. It was literally just Barrow White and Gullivar leading orcs, which is quite cool actually. So he deployed Gullivar's warband first, and with taken hold again with like hold ground as a maelstrom type deployment. So a roll of a 1 meant your opponent could deploy that hero's warband anywhere on the battlefield. 2 to 3 was board edge 12 inches up. 3 to 4 was centre of the board 12 inches back, so front 12, and then a 6 was anywhere on the board. So he rolled for Gulliver and he rolled a 1 straight off, and he did not want me to deploy him right in the corner away from where I was going to deploy, so he used the put and right, which you can do on this scenario. So that took Gulliver down to 2 mites straight away, which was quite handy for me. And he just deployed literally 12 inches up from the board edge, going straight for the middle. I then deployed Durbers, and I rolled a 6. So I deployed sort of on the left-hand board edge of where he deployed, and just moved sort of halfway up, I think. I was halfway between board edge and centre. I didn't want to go in too early, just because I was a bit wary of what Gulliver could do to my goblins, especially with hurls and things like that. So yeah, Durbers deployed. Then he deployed the Barrowite, which was literally right next to Gulliver. I think he rolled a 3, so that meant, yeah, in the same line. Excuse me. I then deployed my Shaman, who rolled a 6 again, so I got really lucky in that regard. So he deployed next to Durbers, so I had a line of goblins coming from his left straight into the middle. And then my captain rolled a 5, so not quite a 6, but it's still good for me in that I could get my goblins fairly high up. So they faced off opposite his orcs, sort of maybe 10 inches away from the centre line. Hopefully get some shots off. So as the turns progresses, we were both rather cagey in the first couple of turns of not charging straight into the middle. We sort of decided that because it was sort of an L-shaped deployment, that we'd sort of close the gap, the closest points to each other, try and get some combat in straight away. My archers obviously stayed still, and Gulliver, I think it was too far out of range, so he just moved up behind the orcs because he couldn't really do anything. So shooting, I think in that first turn, it might be the second turn actually, that my archers managed to get a cheeky wound on Gulliver, because obviously he's only defense 5, so it's a 6 basically. I know they're goblins, but it's still a 5+ to hit. I think I had to get through a couple ranks, and then I got a cheeky 6, which I was absolutely chuffed to bits about. Not only it was wounding his leader, but also reduces his effectiveness, because obviously he has the same amount of attacks that he has wounds. So if I can get as many wounds off him before combat, I'd been very, very happy. Unfortunately, from then on, it sort of went downhill for me. My Shaman, who managed to get Fury off, was heroic combated into. So Gulliver charged into, I think, just one spearman, hurled him across my line, maybe killed a couple more as well, and then straight into my Shaman, and that was it. Shaman dead. Which fought against his army. Obviously, the Throne of Skulls army bonuses were used. So Angmar bonus is that all orc warriors, or warriors I think, cause terror if they're within 3 inches of a hero that is a spirit. Obviously he's got 2. So there was a nice line of terror causing orcs that my goblins had to try and deal with without a Shaman, which was rather unfortunate. So yeah, Shaman was gone after that. So from this point on, I thought, right, I just need to get numbers into the middle, try and protect that 6-inch zone, and hopefully keep his orcs out and maybe try and break him. Sorry, my throat is really bad today. So yeah, it was the case of trying to charge his orcs so he couldn't enter the 6-inch zone, but then failing Cora's chest, not being able to move, really sort of hampered me. So he was able to get quite a few orcs into the centre, charge into my goblins, so it was basically a 2-on-2, spear and shield versus spear and shield. But my goblins just could not win a single fight. I think in the fights I did win, which was probably like 1 in 5, maybe 1 in 6, something like that, I could not roll a 5e to wound. I think by the end of the actual game, I killed maybe 5, 6 orcs. Terrible. He then managed to get, I think he had double the models in the centre by the end of the game. He's obviously broken me, and he killed, I think, like 25 goblins, which was disgusting, really. I mean, 25 models is probably sort of the standard army size there. I know I had 39 models to start with, but it was horrible. The orcs just seemed to plough through whatever I chucked in at them. So yeah, I think we decided that we could have gone an extra turn, but there was no point, just because it was clear that Sam had won. He wouldn't be able to get any extra VPs, just because I protected my leader fairly well, and that I was never going to be able to get any back for breaking or anything like that. So yeah, it was a mess in the middle. I think I managed to have maybe 7 or 8 in the middle. He had, no, I think I had 6 actually, and he must have had 12 or 13, so yeah, double. So that was his 3 VPs there. He then obviously broke me. I didn't break him, so we got 5 for that. But I did get 1 back by causing that wound on Gulliver early on. So I was winning at one point, 1-0. And then in the last turn as well, I just thought, hell with it, let's get the cave troll into Gulliver, see if anything can happen, because I think by that point Gulliver was out of might. Cave troll managed to win the fight. He caused 3 wounds onto Gulliver, so we didn't quite kill him, but it would have made no difference to the game. His barrow wight as well did really well with the paralysing. He paralysed Durbers a couple of times, which kept me out of heroic moves and stand fast and things like that. So yeah, it wasn't a great game for me. Great game for Sam. His Amwar army was really nice looking, really effective as well. Just the fact that Gulliver was in there, I've never played against him, and it was tricky to figure out what he could do, and he can cause some serious damage. Luckily I didn't have like a big point sink into my army. I think the cave troll was the most expensive model, but he sort of steered clear of him because he didn't want any more damage done to him. So yeah, 8-1 win for Sam and taken hold game 1. I was then drawn up against Matthew Batchelor in game 2. He had a Isengard force, so it was a mixture of scouts, fighting Urukai. Lurtz was in there, so was a captain, and he had Vraska with the 3 crossbows as well. It's a nice well-rounded army. 3 heroes at 400 points for Isengard is always going to be good. And the scenario was Age of Heroes. So this was a sort of variant on Contest of Champions, I believe, in that it's not just your leader getting points for killing, it was all of your heroes, which was bad for me straight away, because I mean I got a Durbers and a captain, and the Shaman's not going to do much, whereas he had an Urukai captain, he had Lurtz, who can always cause some damage. He also had Vraska as well with his crossbow, which was horrible. So yeah, points was, you get a 1 point VP each if both of your heroes kill the same number, has to be a minimum of 1. You get 3 if you kill more with your heroes, and you get 5 if you kill double, I believe. Wounding, leading, and killing was the same, 1 and 2. There was points for breaking, and there was also a centre objective as well, which was worth 1 and 2. So if you had more models in the middle, you had 1. If your opponent had none, you had 2 points. So it was quite an interesting scenario. So you could essentially just break your opponent and hold the centre objective, and your heroes could do nothing, and you could still win the game, which is sort of playing against the objective. But that was never going to work for me. So deployment was the same as taking hold as well. So the Maelstrom type deployment. We managed to get what we wanted to do. I think he had to use a point of might with, I think it was Lurtz or Vrasku, just to make sure that he came on with the rest of his army and I didn't deploy him, like surrounding my goblins with him. So pretty much opposing sides of the board. I had my fighting contingent one side, my archers on the other, because he had a clear line to his Uruk-hai. He did exactly the same. He brought his fighting contingent up behind a building so I couldn't get shots at them easily. And then he left his he had scout archers, Vrasku, Lurtz, and the crossbows all sort of behind walls, pop shots basically, which was a great plan as it turns out. I think I managed to get a couple kills. I got one with Durbers sort of late on in the game. My captain got one with the bow, but it was my archers who did really well in this game for me. My normal goblin archers, I think they killed, must have been 6 or 7 Uruk-hais with shield, so defense 6 guys, which you cannot complain about with goblin archers. I mean, it's obviously they would get outshot by the opposing side, but I was lucky in that he brought his fighting contingent up within range of my archers. So rather than trying to go for his captain, I was just picking off, trying to pick off the shield guys, because obviously 6s on them as well as the pikes, so I thought I'd get rid of the shields first. And by the time that contingent came up to meet my goblins, there was only probably 6 or 7 of those guys left, and I killed a few more of those in the combat. But it was not a great scenario, to be honest. The score was closer than it seems. I mean, I think in the end I lost 4-3. That was mainly down to his leaders getting the kills, which I couldn't do with my heroes. Especially Vrasku with his crossbow, he's just picking off goblin spearmen on 4s. It was wounded on 4s. I couldn't do anything about it. So yeah, my hope was to get the centre objective, which I did. And then also try and break him without breaking me. In the end, I did get the 2 VPs for the centre objective, sorry. But then he also managed to kill more with his heroes, and I think we got a point each because we were both broken, I believe. Yeah, it's 4-3. I lost it anyway. Score was closer than it seemed. He easily won it. It was just the fact that I think my heroes managed to do a little bit of damage towards the end that denied him max VPs for hero kills. Otherwise it would have been 6-3, I think. So I'm denying VPs, basically. Started in game 2, I was on 0-2. I think at this point Derry was on 1-1, but obviously you'll hear more about his games in his tournament review. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. You would have seen how he'd done in the tournament vlog anyway. Did very well. So then we had lunch, nice little break. And then after that we played game 3. I was drawn against Nico. Lovely French guy, and he had brought a similar army to what I played in the first game, another Angmar army. So it was Gullivar and a Barrow Wight, but instead of some Warg Riders, he had a Spectre in there as well. And again, just a mixture of Orcs with shield and spear. And this game was Ancient Artifacts. So this was an interesting one, in that there was a centre objective. So it was pretty much like a whole ground variant again. So it wasn't Maelstrom deployment, it was literally 12 and 12, I think. And dotted across the battlefield were 4 artifacts that you could dig up and you might get a buff for your army. So I think on a 1 it was no effect if you dug it up. On a 2 it was if I can remember. Oh, what was 2? I can't remember. I can remember the ones I dug up. There was a golden horn of so that was basically pass all courage tests on a single turn. There was a 6-inch banner, which would have been very helpful for goblins. There was also a mithril shirt that gave +1 defense to a hero, and there was also a ring of power that would pass fate on a 3+ rather than a 4. So there were some nice little bonuses in there, but they didn't affect sort of VPs or anything like that. It was literally hold the center objective, break in, and killing leaders. So I was not looking forward to this again, playing another Angmar army. And as it turned out, my Fury roll, I rolled a 1 and a 2 for Channeled Fury. The last 3 games, my Fury was absolutely useless. So that did not help first starting off, so I could not charge orcs, which was the main thing, just because of the Angmar special rule. So archers, I thought I'd do the same thing again, try and get a cheeky shot on Gulliver, which I managed to do. So I was very happy about that. Again, another VP, literally just one cheeky shot getting off on the leader. So our lines they literally just moved up together, trying to get to that centre objective. He managed to get there first just because of the extra inch movement. It's only an extra inch between goblins and orcs, but it makes a massive difference in objective gameplay. And without the fury, the courage of my goblins meant that I could not charge into the orcs to get into the middle first of all. But then they were just stuck, causing people to blocking routes off and things like that. His barrow wight as well pretty much paralysed my troll for the whole game, which was really annoying because I could not do anything. There was nothing I could do. He kept some of his orcs obviously in a centre objective, but he sort of pushed out so that I was going to really struggle to try and get to the centre. It just went really, really badly. I mean, Gulliver, again, heroic combats and hurls and rends and things like that, pretty much got rid of like Durbers and Captain by sort of halfway through the game. So I was just left with a Shaman as my only hero, but obviously he was useless. He couldn't do anything. What else can I say? All the fights that I was in, again, goblins couldn't win. I think most of the time I was rolling 1s and 2s, which was, it's not gonna do anything. You might get lucky if you've got higher fight value, but it just would not work. Also, my army bonus as well from Warrior, when I'm trapping a model, I get +1 fight, but it's so difficult to trap if you've got terror causing models. The scenery as well, it can play a factor. I don't think Mario army bonus is that effective compared to others. Like, especially with the Angmar one, like I came up against twice. It can be very difficult for low courage troops to charge in, which I found out. So he had points for the centre objective. He didn't get max VPs for that because I had a few goblins in there, managed to squeeze a few in. He broke me without me breaking him. He killed my leader, and so in the end it was a 10-1 loss. Again, that one victory point for me was just getting a cheeky wound on Gulliver. So at this point I was thinking, right, wooden spoon, let's go for it. But when I saw my next opponent, I thought, right, I should be able to win this one. So I sort of thought, no, I'm not going to go wooden spoon. I'm going to try and win a few games. We'll try and win the last 2. Just try and get a bit of enjoyment out of the tournament and a bit of respect for the goblins. So yeah, I played Brad, who had a Gundabad army. It was Bolg, Captain, and just a few normal Gundabad warriors. Bolg was on his Warg as well. So this one scenario was My Precious. So it's kind of like Seize the Prize, in that you've got to dig up a prize that's in the centre, but instead of getting it off a board edge, you've got to take it back to your camp and then defend it. So the way deployment came out, you had to deploy one warband in your camp, which was sort of in the centre of a quadrant of the board, and the other half of your army was sort of next to it in an opposing quadrant as well. So it was split up a little bit. So I deployed Durbers on the camp, archers and shaman warband out to the right. They had a bit of cover on the woods, but it didn't really make much difference against them, to be honest. They just literally charged forward, because at this point Bolg had called a heroic march, dug up the prize and was taking it away. Obviously with my movement I couldn't get there anytime soon. Even with a heroic march I couldn't get there anytime soon. So I decided just to send the rest of my contingent up towards the camp to try and hopefully steal the prize back, deny him some VPs there. And as it turns out, they managed to kill a lot of Gundabad's that were defending the camp. Sort of halfway through, Bolg passed My Precious onto another Gundabad who took it to the camp, and Bolg sort of charged back in. Obviously he dismounted to try and pick it up, so he was a little bit less effective, which really helped me. Bolg had already used one of his might. He used another one called Heroic Move, so he's down to 2, and obviously with his army bonus he chose the Azog's Legion bonus, which was so if I called a heroic, he could call it for free. So that was, I think I called a heroic strike a couple of times with Durbers in a fight with Bolg, just to try and get a higher fight. And I think in one of the fights he had to use another might to actually win the fight, because he'd obviously struck, he countered mine, but he didn't roll a 6, which I did, because I managed to get loads and loads of goblins in just because he wasn't causing terror at this point. So he had to use a point of might there to win, and he caused like just 1 wound on the troll. Bolg had a really poor game. So the next turn I again called a strike with Durbers, and I managed to go higher than Bolg. No, sorry. Bolg was still higher, but he couldn't roll a 6, and obviously he was out of my sheer weight in numbers. Managed to roll a 6, win the fight. Obviously I had the troll in there as well, so he rendered, got a couple wounds on. No, he got a couple wounds on, and then I think I had 10 goblins plus Durbers needing 6s, and obviously with 20 something dice, I think I got at least 5 or something like that. So Bolg went down really easy, and I think the other contingent that was storming the camp, they killed the orc that was holding it, and I had broken him very, very easily. I think this was the opposite of my first game, where I managed to kill loads and he managed to kill maybe 4 or 5 goblins, which if you've got Bolg in there is not good. So yeah, I won 7-0 in that one. So that was the 5 VPs for breaking him without me being broken, and then I had 2 for killing his leader. He would have had a few VPs if that orc carrying the prize was still alive, but because he died, no one had claimed it, and it was just sort of floating about and not making any difference to the game. So yeah, I managed to win a game in the end, which was nice. And then going into the last game, there was sort of a lot of issues with pairings and tables and things like that, in that people had played the same person before, in that they played on the same table a few times and he wanted to switch it up. I was drawn against Matt Batchelor again, who I played in game 2. We were just like, we happy to play each other? Yeah. Are we happy whatever table we go on? yeah, it's not going to make any difference to stand-ins or wooden spoons or anything like that. So we just thought, nah, we'll leave it at that. So we played Defend the Camp. So this was kind of like Rescue, I think is Rescue in the Destination of Smaug book, where you've got one warband in the centre, sort of, yeah, defending the camp. You've got the attacker who's trying to outnumber in the middle, and then the reinforcements for the defender come on later on. So it's a roll-off. Whoever wins chooses what they want to be. Because of my sheer weight in numbers, I was hoping I'd win so I could attack, which is what happened in the end. And he deployed his fighting contingent of his Isengard in the centre with his captain, shields, pikes and things like that, just so they've got a little bit more durability, so they can stick around for a little bit longer if they lose a fight. So I deployed, you could deploy your warbands on any board edge if you're an attacker, sort of the middle 12 of each board edge. So I deployed Durbers and Shaman on my right of the camp, and then my archers in front of me looking straight into the camp. So that the plan was archers just to pick off a few while my goblins charged in. I think I killed one with shooting, but that was only because my focus was switched, because he deployed Rascal and his crossbows opposite my archers, so sort of facing, having some clear shots at my fighting goblins. And he deployed Lurts and archers sort of behind, so he could get a few shots off. So I thought, right, I'm just going to get goblins into the middle, try and wipe them out there, because I had 2 full warbands plus a troll taking on, I think, maybe 9 models. And obviously I'd taken, I think, 1 or 2 out with shooting early on. So that happened fairly easily. The goblins managed to win fights this time, and they killed quite easily as well. The troll did quite a lot. Obviously he hurled, don't think he killed hurled. He killed one with hurl, but the rest he sort of barged and tried to get on the captain, take him out, while the goblins took out the one-on-ones type thing. So yeah, I had set an objective fairly easily, and I was like, right, I'm going to try and hold the other Urkai back. I wasn't too worried about Vrasku, because he had Vrasku with 4 crossbows, sorry. So even if he managed to kill with each of them on every turn, I was still going to have far more numbers. And then with Lurtz and his warband, I sent my archers over, just a few other goblins as well, to try and take them out. And there's a nice moment as well where I got a cheeky wound on Lurtz with shooting, I think. Oh no, he passed his fate, sorry, yeah. He used his fate. I then charged him with my goblin captain. Heroic struck, won the fight, caused a wound. And then in an ensuing fight, I transfixed with my shaman, because obviously I mentioned before my shaman was useless for the last 3 games. So I used his last point of will to try and transfix, which came off, but Lurtz resisted. So I was ready to use my last point of might to try and heroic strike again with my captain. But as a bit of fun, Matt decided, right, I'm going to shoot into Lurtz's combat, hopefully try and save him. He hits with Vrasku. It hits Lurtz, because at this point Vrasku was out of might because he killed quite a few. Just using his might up to try and take a few numbers down. And then killed Lurtz, unfortunately, which saved me the might and it enabled me to break him fairly easily. Just picking off a few more Urkai out around the edges, and he did manage to break me in the end with his crossbows. Actually, his crossbows against me were just absolutely brutal. But in the end, I did win 7-1. That was because I had 5 for centre objective. We both had 1 for breaking each other, so that was 6-1. I caused a wound on Lurtz, who is his leader, but I couldn't get the second one because technically I didn't kill him. He managed to save a victory point there, which is a nice little fun moment. We had a little laugh about that. So yeah, I ended on 2 wins and 3 losses, which going into the tournament itself I would have been happy with. And seeing as how my first 3 games had went, I was ecstatic to have 2 wins at the end of it, to be honest. Goblins, it can go either way really. Goblin hordes can go either way. In the scenarios that needed numbers, I didn't really do well in. You would have thought like taking hold and so ancient artifacts again, which was the centre objective, you would have thought that I would do fairly well because I had the numbers. But against Gullivar in both of those, he just absolutely tore through my goblins, and the fact that the Angmar bonus I faced in those 2 games meant that my goblins, well, my goblin shaman first of all, if he stuck around actually got Fury off, might have made a difference. But as it turned out, it didn't. And it was the same in practice game as well. My Fury just did not work. It'd come off and I just would not save anything either. It was horrible. So going forward, I might just leave a shaman out and get another captain and get some more might. But who knows? It was a fun tournament in the end. I can't complain about any of the games. Scenarios are fairly balanced. It was just a bit of bad luck. That's all it was. And some stupid things on my part as well. I'm not protecting a shaman, and in my game against Nico as well, again not protecting my shaman, but he was useless at that point anyway, so it didn't make much difference. So yeah, what I was going to say, we had the awards ceremony. You would have seen that on the vlog hopefully, and Darry did very well. He won the tournament and he got best painted, which was really good. Thoroughly deserved his painting as well. He's been putting so much effort into those guys, and he did well to come back from. He lost his first game as well. He did well to come back from that and get the win. Not many people. Everyone talks about submarine and get a nice easy draw throughout, but it rarely ever comes off. So well done to him. Mel, great tournament was run again. We went to the Merry Gathering. That was a very well run tournament as well. It's nice and smooth, no major issues, no issues at all really. Just people being a bit fussy about matching ups and table when they were in the last game. That was the only major issue I think. All my opponents as well. I mean, I played Matt twice. Great guy, lovely man. Great opponent as well. I think we both sort of decided that the last game we were in, it was just going to be a bit of fun. Because neither of us would have been going for the wooden spoon. Because I think Brad won that in the end because he had no wins in the whole tournament, unfortunately. Which probably could happen to me if I lost against Brad, but I thought, no, I'm going to try and get a couple wins, get a bit of experience more than anything. Because me and Dario thought that next year, 2018, is going to be a big year for us, for the Guardians, tournament-wise. I mean, we've already booked Scouring tickets, so we're going up for the league opener. Got a team for Ardacon. We're looking at other tournaments to go to as well. We're going to try and get to as many as we can, try and get a decent league place. Looking at ETC and things like that as well. So next year we'll be looking serious, and obviously Darry's looking good stead as he's already won his first tournament. Feedback for the scenarios as well, all very good. No major changes, I don't think. I do think it needs to be changed that because you can play the game where you're not playing the objective and still win. So objective points are, the max you can get is 5 I think, and then obviously you get 5 for breaking and then 2 for killing the leader. So you don't have to play the objective to win necessarily. You could still win 7-5 if you don't play the objective, which I think needs to change. Maybe if the max you could do is draw. So maybe if it was like 6 VPs max that you get for not playing the objective type thing, especially in a 12 VP max game, I think that needs to change. But otherwise, all the scenarios really well thought out. Deployment was very good in the scenarios where Maelstrom was involved. Yeah, I'm very, very pleased with them. Obviously, you played a few practice games beforehand just to get familiarise yourself. But even those that I didn't play, it was very easy to pick up on just because they're based on existing ones, but they've got little variations that mean that you need to play the game a little bit differently. What else to say? I can't wait for it to be a GBHL event, to be honest. Even if it is just an 80-point event, a nice fun day, that's what these tournaments are. I've been to Cheltenham one twice now, and each time it's just been fun. Obviously, yeah, you would like to go there and win a few games, win the tournament, because there are some decent prizes. But it's just that environment. You see like people that you're friends with and things like that. You just want to have a good time. That's all it is. So an 80-point tournament is ideal for that. You bring something nice and fluffy and just try your best with it. Yeah, nothing else to say really. I don't know how these videos are going to come out, whether you'd have seen my one first or Derry's first, but I know he's recording his tomorrow, and I'm going to try and both get them out on Saturday so that you can have bumper viewing. So I mean, this one is just over 40 minutes. If his is anything near that, you're going to have an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of viewing. Might keep busy over the weekend, wouldn't it? But yeah, Goblins, I think their army bonus as well, it's not as effective as others. I mean, yeah, you're going to have more numbers so you can trap, but the amount of times that you do trap, you're only going to up to fight 3, which is drawing with everything else. If they were fight 3 standing and going up 1, that would be useful, but that type of rule doesn't really work for Goblins. If it was outnumbering a fight, that might be better, just because you can actually outnumber a lot more easier than you can trap. But I just think it needs a little bit more tweaking. Obviously, I don't have the best knowledge of this. I don't have the expertise, as we say, because this is my first tournament with Goblins. For a seasoned Goblin player, they might have a different view on me. This is just my opinion. But I think it just needs a little bit of a tweak for the Moria. Other army bonuses that I played against, Angmar 1 I think is brilliant, especially against low courage models. If they haven't got a shaman as well, you're laughing. Even if you're up against like dwarves or elves, there's that chance that they're not going to pass that courage test to charge a warrior, and that's going to mess up their entire plans. It's going to block routes off, it's going to keep that guy there, and it can be very useful, even if it just comes off once. Who else did I play? Isengard twice. Their rule is good. I mean, it fits in with the theme of Isengard in that they're fighting Uruk-hai. They don't know pain, they don't know defeat type thing. So not taking a courage test for broken until 66%, especially at a lower model count army, is great. So if you're talking, I think I played Matt twice and he had 24 models. So breaking would have been killing 13. But you wouldn't have to test until I killed something like 16. So it's that extra few models that if in a timed game as well, they're not going to run away as easy, which is great. Especially on objective games, it's ideal. And my last other one was against Gundabad. That's pretty standard now. That's been tried and tested many times. It's been published. It's horrible. It's nasty, especially if you want to get a heroic strike off against the hero. What are you going to do? Or a heroic move off to get charges and things like that. It's very useful. Dowie's one, I talked to him a couple of times throughout the tournament as well. It really helped him out, especially against I think it was Nico in his second game. We both played the same Angmar army twice and he came out on top both times, but the Mahud bonus is that he charges his hero in and that warriors will also pass courage test within 6 inches. I think that's right. So that meant he charges King or his Tribe Master in, and he managed to get his camels into Gulliver, get some wounds off with the Impalable. So it really works well with my hood, which is, I think, Moria, myself, just need a little bit more. That's my opinion. Take it or leave it. You might have different opinions. I know there was a couple other Moria armies there. If you found it differently, let me know. If I need to change tactics, I'm planning on taking a similar army to Scouring. So it's just another warband of goblins. There's a bat swarm in there and a fell beast for a little bit of competitiveness. And the Shadow Lord, I'm thinking, 700 point tournament. You just need something to counter magic and use magic yourself. So that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, I think I'll call that a video there. It was a great tournament in the end. Cannot wait for it to be a GBHL event, and it's only an hour away from me, which is perfect. Had a really good time, met with the guys again, met some new guys as well, which was great, which is what it's all about. And yeah, roll on to, I think the next tournament will be Scouring, to be honest. I'm not sure if there's going to be any more one-day events until then. Maybe one in December. I'd like it if there was. Just get a bit more practice in, meet you guys again, it'd be great. But yeah, next one will be January, where me, Derry, and I think David will be probably joining us for that as well, because he's going to be around a lot since he and Derry are working together. So he'll be around in the videos as well, get a bit more content maybe, which would be good. So yeah, I'll call that video there. If you've enjoyed the video, if you've got any more opinions of what I should have done differently, if you're my opponents and I missed anything out, I apologise. Put it down in the comments below, let me know. And I hope you enjoyed Derry's review as well. Obviously his will be a bit more interesting, seeing as he won. Spoilers, if you haven't figured out already, but yeah. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to comment, like, share and subscribe. Like our Facebook page, and we'll see you soon.